Hey guys, this is the Blue Collar Feature Podcast, and I'm your host, Jaden Robison, with host Jessie Demler today.
Hi, dude. How are you?
How are you? Good. Good. You been busy this last week or so. So, yeah.
I've got I think over the last 2 weeks, I've got a combined 30 hours of overtime, and then on top of that, working on my side project. So it's been fun.
You guys are super busy with the project you're on.
Yeah, it's that student housing project, and like I told you, they started us out 2 months behind. So
Yeah.
we're responsible for catching up with it. We gave them a 6-month timeline. They gave us 4 months to do it, and they think that we can do it. But it's as much. It's kind of open season on overtime, so pros and cons there.
That's interesting. So they're almost, I know you've mentioned it before, but they're almost just making it seem like it's your responsibility to correct it. So
Yeah.
You guys have to put in all the work and time and stuff to, yeah, that's interesting.
It's one of those things where they're like, "Oh, you could have been here. You could have," and like they had, one floor out of 7 ready. So it's like, we can't usually with Mason, you start at the bottom and work to the top, right? And they're like, "Oh, well, you could have been here and worked over here and over here." I'm like, that's not, no, but it is what it is. There's another, I don't know if they're from Idaho or down in South and Salt Lake, but they're going to come help us. There's another crew about the same size. So they're going to start on the other side of the building, and we're going to try to meet them in the middle just to get the project off of our hands.
Do you guys know them fairly well? Is that how that's
Be back.
lost you? Yeah. Do you guys know them fairly well? Is that how you've found them or something? Like friends?
I don't know if Dad knew them or if the superintendent knew them, but someone did, and they called them in, worked out whatever's fair for, hey, this is our price, this is what you got to do it for, sort of thing. But yeah, and we've got other projects lined up. We've got 3 other projects lined up, so it's mutually beneficial to get it done, I guess.
Yeah. How often does that happen? I mean, I know you've said you guys have gone to help other bigger companies and stuff, or other people on projects, but how often do you guys have to have somebody else come in and help you?
Hardly ever. Like, this is one of the first or few times it's ever, when I've been around, to have another crew come help us. But usually, like I said, usually it's us going to help IMS or going to help someone else with some project in Idaho, how it's usually been, or in Salt Lake. And yeah, but it's just an unrealistic timeline, and wherever the accountability lies is where it lies. We're there to get it done, so we got to try and get it done. And like luckily my wife, he's nesting in a bag next to me. Luckily Christina works, and like she can take butter, so we just made an agreement where it was like, hey, I'm gonna be working a lot between my job and my side job. Like, I'm doing 11, 12-hour days, and then working on my side job Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So if you want to go just work on your job, see your family in Salt Lake, do all that sort of stuff, and then we'll just kind of get through this period, if you will, and then get back to our normal thing. And she's cool, man. She gets it. So I guess that's probably important to have with a partner like that in this situation.
Yeah. How well do you think that would work with kids? Do you guys plan on having kids anytime soon, or no?
No, dude. No, we're just planning on being dog parents, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be hard with kids. Like, you'd have to, especially if she wasn't a stay-at-home mom, or like something like that, because then you're paying for babysitting costs, all that other stuff. And I don't know. But yeah, it's no plans for us. I'm just going to be a really cool uncle.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. It's just, I think that's actually a question a lot of people have, is how do you manage all that with kids? I guess that's another question for another time. But
that's for you.
Yeah. Well, I'll give it some time, mull it over. But this actually leads us into kind of one of the first questions we're going to be talking about. And so we're going to be talking about side jobs, because I think it's perfect because you're right in the middle of one. So I know both of us get asked quite a bit about side jobs and like when to take them on, how do you know when to, and how do you find them? So let's go specific on this one just right now for you, how you decided to take that on and how you found it.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start from the beginning. I was at PetSmart with Butter, getting him, gosh, I think I was getting him a treat or something, or a toy, whatever we were doing. And I have the company logos on my truck. So the guy walked up and was like, "Hey, I'm trying to find a mason. You know, you guys are kind of hard to find, yada, yada. This is what I've got going on. You want to come look at it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's right up the road from my house. So it's like a mile away. Like that's easy. It's a thin brick job. It's inside. So winter, I don't have to worry about tent, heat, any of that stuff. Yeah, I'll go look at it. Go look at it. Um, and like I've kind of said before, is I bid things or quote things with the thought in mind that it's not just my labor and skills, it's also time away from my family. So I'm going to bid it appropriately. And then, so I was like, "Hey, make it clear I'm doing this on the side. This is what I'm doing, yada, yada." So I turned in my quote, just sent it over via Jobber, which made it really easy, and he approved it. And I was like, "Okay, cool. If you're willing to pay that, I'm willing to, put in the time." And honestly, I enjoy like doing the thin brick and stuff inside because it's easy compared to what I do normally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, he actually found me in the parking lot because of the logos on my truck. So, that's, I guess, a good advertisement. But for those of you who like ask all the time, like, "Hey, how do I find side jobs?" Or like, "What am I doing?" The biggest two things for me, obviously, was experience. So my name's out there, but to gain that experience, I have my name on a contractor list at the local supply yard or the local brickyard at Castlight. So if someone comes in and is like, "Hey, I want this done, but I don't know anyone," they can recommend a list of contractors. And so like people call me like, "This is what I got," and I can say yes or no. I think it's super important to know when to say no, because even though you can go make money, if you can't go do it in a timely manner, or like if it's outside of your skill set or anything else, you got to know how to say no. But that's a great way to find those side jobs, is having a relationship with your local supply yard. And then on top of that, I have my social media presence. So I post about work, that's my thing on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and such. So people see that, and whether that's a validation of the fact that I can do good work, or the validation of the fact that like, hey, they know a mason, they can contact me there and be like, "Hey, we're local. We have this going on. Could you come give us a quote?" And yeah.
Yeah. That's
Does
interesting.
change? Yeah. I guess, how does it work for you in your world? Because like, there's not like a concrete warehouse like Parsons or something.
Well, that's why that's interesting, is because having your name on the list of contractors at your local supplier is pretty cool. I think some people probably have some stuff like that, like at some concrete supply, like tool businesses around here and stuff. But I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. Dude, I get people like asking on social media, connections that I have. I have a side job that I've been putting off looking at, actually, and it's from somebody I went to college with, to university with, that knew that I was doing concrete while I was there. And then I think he's seen me on social media and he knows I'm still doing concrete. So he reached out and was like, "Hey, so-and-so's got this thing going on. Do you want to go look at it?" So like I get people, social media connections I've made, people driving by and stopping and being like, "Hey, I need some concrete done in my house." Like that happens all the time. And those ones are typically like, you gotta know how to say no to some of those, because people are just trying to get the cheap, easy way out. So if you're racing to the bottom on your bids, that's never a good thing. So I think like I've sent bids over to people and they haven't even responded, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure they went with some cheaper bid, and then like in passing I'll see the project and be like, "Oh, yep, that was done and it looks like crap." So whatever.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
I guess
But
I would add to your point that a lot of work comes from work, like you said, because you'll be out working and someone will see you doing something like, oh, I want that. So like every time I do a mailbox or something, inevitably the neighbor also wants one, or someone driving by is like, hey, can I get a cart, or like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing to add is like maybe the snowball effect, right? So like if you're working, more work tries to find you or
Yeah.
tends to find you.
Yeah. Yeah. It
But yeah,
happens. It happens a lot. And I think most of the time I say no to the ones that are people driving by because they come by in inconvenient times. So
yeah,
like if I'm super busy and I'm just not able to, I know that I can't take it on. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I can come look at your project. I'll just be like, yeah, too busy right now. I can't do that. I think that's a
right.
trap people fall into is they're like, oh man, I need to take everything that comes along. Um, so what was your process this time? Because you actually have a lot piled on right now, and I know you've said before you're very careful about what you take on and when, and it just happens to be you took on a side job while you guys are super busy at work.
Yes. Yeah. So to be honest, I took on the side job before they started kind of being the way they are about the schedule.
Yes.
Before like the overtime started is when I took the project. So like, oh, cool. Like I'll just go work on, Friday, Saturday. It's no big, or like after hours, whatever it is. And then we kind of got in this time crunch. So it's like, well, now it's just kind of all compiled together. And that's why I had the conversation with my wife about like, hey, this is what I got to do for the next couple weeks. If you want to go do your thing or whatever you want to do to be comfortable, that's cool. And yeah, so it just unfortunately this time it landed where I'm busy because normally with how much overtime I'm working, I would have just said, hey, I don't have time for my schedule. Plus, I can go make an extra $1,000 a week just doing overtime anyway. So like I don't need this. But yeah, now it's just a grind. And I chose to do it because, like I said, the money was like I bid it high enough that the money was good, so it's still worth it. And it's something I know that I can do. Normally, I would have said no, right? Because I can go make $1,000 extra a week doing overtime. But this came in, I bid it high enough that I'm comfortable with, like the time being spent on the project. Plus, it's like I know the amount of hours it's going to take me to do it. So like I can go knock that out in the contractor schedule. I can fit it in on, Saturday, Sunday, get it done. It's not as tough on me as my typical job or you know, my 9 to 5, if you will. Um, just laying thin bricks is not as difficult. So it's like I'm either going to sit here in my off time or do something with my wife, or I can go do that. And yeah, plus,
Yes.
I guess another factor into why I took the job and wanted the job on top of the overtime, and I didn't call him and be like, "Hey, dude, I'm getting screwed. I need you to find someone else. Here's some recommendations." Um, I'm really to the point in my life where I'm tired of living where I do because we live in a townhome, and I'm ready to move to the next step. And so, like I've always told you, is like I have my goal and I reverse engineered it. So it's like, hey, if I can do this, that gets me closer to that goal of moving into the next step of life, if you will. And so that was probably another big factor of I'm like, well, I don't want to spend 7 days a week working, but if I do it real quick, it advances me a little closer to that goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's different when you have a goal you're working towards instead of just like grinding for no reason. And I think that's a lot of people are just taking on as much as they can and not really having a purpose to it. It's like I just need to work. I just need to do things and make a bunch of money and stuff. And if you don't have like a good reason for it, then all you do is get burnt out and frustrated and exhausted. Um, yeah. And
Yes.
then nothing to show for it. Cause like, what do you have? You have a bunch of time lost on it and some money, I guess. But if you don't have a good reason to make the money, then it's just going to disappear anyways. Money has a funny way of disappearing if you don't have a purpose for it, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's last time, like when we bought this place, when we were, about to become newlyweds and buying the house and stuff, was the last time I really did a lot of side work. And so, I mean, I was more or less doing the same thing of working sun up to sundown every day just to kind of grind it out. But like you said, I had a purpose for it. So it was like, each one of these side jobs gets me closer and closer to being able to do what I want to do. And then, we found a place that was actually a little cheaper than what we were looking at, and it worked out. And so I just, I have a little nest egg, get paid for that. I got my down payment, all that sort of stuff, and it worked out. And then, like you and I were talking earlier, I kicked my feet up after that.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that because I feel like I'm been a bum lately, but like I've been busy-ish, but like I've been enjoying my time at home, just being here instead of always just being gone working, because the last year kicked my butt, so it was a lot. I don't really recommend having a baby and building a house at the same time. Not really ideal. we made it work and stuff, but anyways, it was interesting. But
Yeah, you triple dipped, dude. You were work, built a house, and had a baby.
Yeah, working a lot too. We were freaking busy. We were like, we were super busy, working a ton, and then I would come home. Well, I would come straight to here and work on the house until 8, 9, 10 o'clock sometimes, and then go home and still have to try to do some social media stuff and do the podcast and all that. So it was not that fun. I don't know. I gained a lot from it, and I enjoyed parts of it. But that's definitely the part where you like knowing when to take on stuff and when not to is important, because even though I had a goal and it made it bearable that whole time because we were working towards something, it still was just tiring. Like a whole year essentially, if that is a lot. And I did side jobs the first part of the year and was really pushing on the podcast, and then kind of halfway through the years when we started the house, and then almost everything took a wayside, just pushed off to the side because of how much work it was. So yeah,
I think on the subject of like, maybe we've discussed this before about, because this part of this or the social media and stuff, like I can consider that part of my side job, right?
Yeah.
So like, because my main income, my main job is commercial masonry. And you and I do believe you and I have talked about this before, but like this, I don't think a lot of people, or maybe they do, realize how much effort has to go into this. Because like the side job I'm doing is like I can go, I'm over the side job for 8 hours on my day off, and I film the entire thing. Like I have a camera set up, and then I film like my little side job, side quests, stuff like that. But it's all just sitting here on my phone because I haven't edited it, because that takes, another hour or two per video. And it's just, but again, I think the big thing is, having a goal in mind of like, okay, I want this particular side income to match my work income at some point, or, pass it. So it's like, I gotta brick by brick this, and like, I think a lot of people also think that you just pull your phone out, film it, edit it at work, and don't work. But, I was just saying, it's like, I have that goal of like, I want this to match my work income or surpass it. And so like, I gotta do the video. I gotta do the content, kind of brick by brick, if you will, because I want to build that.
Yeah. It's like, I had a comment the other day. I think on my day in the life video, I had something was like, somebody's paying for a job done and you're filming or something like that. And I was like, what does that even mean? What are you talking about? Like, do you think that it takes that much time out of my day to take videos? Like, especially for me, I don't think people realize how nifty those little Ray-Ban glasses are. At work, that's like almost all I use. It literally is as simple as a beep and then a beep. That's it. Like, most of the time I just click the dang button when I want to record, and then it just records and it ends on its own. I'm like, I don't even have to do anything at work. So the thing I have to do is, if I run them out of battery, go charge them. That takes no time. Like, while I'm eating my lunch, I can do that. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's
All of
I
that's
think,
done outside of work. The
yeah.
rest of
And
it.
I think people just assume that you're doing everything at work. Like, oh, I filmed and edited this while the guys are finishing concrete. And it's like,
No, dude, it's crazy.
but yeah,
Absolutely
I
crazy.
can't.
I think,
I was gonna say I can't wait till the Ray-Bans can film longer than a minute. That would be really convenient.
well, they can do 3 minutes, but I've found that they destroy my battery life when I do that. So, yeah, there an update came out probably right around when you got them, I guess, for 3 minute videos, but and then it like automatically changed on mine. I never changed it to that. But they freaking kill the battery being 3 minutes. Like I swear I can take less total, minutes of footage on the 3 minute setting. I don't know why. Um, they're it is what it is with those. Like they're just a almost a prototype tool, I would say, for
Right, I agree.
for what they could be at some point. And it's so early in the technology for those things, but
Yeah,
just how useful it is right now is pretty crazy.
yeah.
So
I guess to land the plane on this one,
yeah,
of like when and where to take side jobs. I think it's important to like one be aware of your own capacities, like what you can get done in a certain amount of time. Make sure you can still hit their time frames, as well as not achieve burnout. To make sure that you and your spouse, if you have one, have the conversation. But yeah, if you and your spouse have that conversation, and to have that goal in mind. So there needs to be something out there that you're working toward, or else it's all just gonna suck. Like if it's like, hey, I'm furthering this goal, that's sweet. But if it's just like, hey, I'm working to work, to hell with all that.
yeah, that is the trap I think I see a lot of people in. They're just working just because and working a lot just because, and it doesn't lead to any sort of fulfillment, I don't think, unless you're finding unless like what you're doing is working a lot because you're building skills or something. Like if you're really invested right at the moment in getting better at something at work, and you're just working to grind for that, it's fine.
Yeah.
But taking on all this extra work just because and not really having any sort of overlying purpose is how that stuff happens. So I think, yeah, having a strong sense of purpose as for why you're even doing it, not just doing it just because, is probably one of the biggest points for taking on the side work. Because I know I've taken on side jobs when I probably shouldn't have, and it just was frustrating the whole way around. So just not enjoyable. Almost seemed like wasted time
I agree. And then
for what you're doing.
I guess kind of like a side note is live within your means. Otherwise, you're going to be doing stuff like that forever just to live up to your car payment, or your house payment, or whatever you got going on.
That is super key right there. Like over borrowing, I guess, over leveraging what you make, like so that you have to do side jobs in order to like survive. That's
Yeah.
not a good position to be in.
Yeah, don't
I
put
think
yourself in
like
that hole.
I think like early days of young people being married and trying to buy a house and stuff, like a lot of times that just happens. But I think it's a little bit different when you're working towards getting into a place of your own and you're both like really on page, you and your partner, and you're like all in on that, and you know that it will pass at some point and it'll get easier.
Yeah.
But I think where people just want to like keep up with the Joneses and have all the toys and over leverage themselves and then get into a big house that they barely afford the payment on, and doing all that stuff is just asinine. You don't need to do all that crap to be fulfilled, and it never leads to any fulfillment anyways, having a bunch of things. So
Yeah.
and then how can you use them if you're working constantly to be able to afford them either?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. A house is only a home if you're in it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I think we did that one. So
Yeah. What else you got?
the next question is another one from Z, Troll Cove ambassador here at local Utah. His question was Utah specific, but I think we can do in general. So he's talking about the battle between keeping Utah small or like having a lot of construction because that's where the money's at. So I think that can be applied anywhere because like obviously that's all of our jobs is where the building is at. Just about everybody's in the trades. And at what point is it okay, there's too much of this construction going on? At what point do you pull back on that? That's like who decides that too. So it's interesting. I think I'm on the side of keeping Utah small, but at the same time, like at some point, this stuff has got to be like this is how we make money.
Yeah. I mean, if y'all would stop having 3 or 4 or 5 kids, we would have a different situation going on here. No, I'm just kidding. There's a fine line there, right? Because we need expansion for us all to have our jobs, but it's also like, if you've ever drove through Main Street in Logan, it's miserable, but that's on them for not developing the infrastructure to handle the amount of people because, the general population here is of a certain belief to have large families and then they didn't plan for it, or, people moving into town or the college in town and things like that. And then they give you one 2-lane road to get all that stuff out because the old people designed it for US 89 to drive through the middle of town so you could see all the stores and didn't expand it. So yeah, it's like every day I see the problem of like more people being here, but also more people means more work. I think personally, I think as long as we were to build the infrastructure around it to take care of it, like, I really like Ogden and Salt Lake, how they have, their big wide roads, like there's one ways going each way, or they're developing new parts of the highway or the freeway to kind of mitigate the problems that come with a large population, unless you're a skier and you bought an Epic Pass, because then you're just screwed. Then you get to wait in that 4-hour line. That's on you. But yeah, it's a fine line, man. It's I like being able to go fly fish and not see anybody, which is why I don't live in Provo, like I live near Idaho, and stuff like that. So but it's also like if I said, hey, nobody else can move here, me and you're going to be out of a job by the next 10 years. Yeah. So it's a fine line, man. I think as long as I guess the answer would be as long as it's done with, some thoughtful planning for the population so you don't end up with something like Main Street of Logan, and it's done with, maybe nature in mind, because there's a reason we all like Utah. It's beautiful here. There's all the outdoor recreation we can do and things like that. Then the growth is inevitable because it's going to happen just in whatever way that's the population is going. But as long as we are mindful of the future in those couple senses, I think, maybe it's manageable, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, the growth is inevitable and we all like Utah for a reason. I think the more people come here, the more people like it and would want to live here because for now there isn't that many people, and the scenery and the environment is so cool here. And I talk about this all the time. Just you can go in any direction from where we are and have a completely different landscape. And it's super cool to be in such an outdoorsy place. And can't help but wonder if you actually in Logan might be in one of the worst freaking places there is for that problem too. Because you guys have an especially limited area to be to grow into. I mean, obviously there's still a lot of space to grow, but the problem up there is the infrastructure. I love it up that direction, but I freaking hate going there. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Just it's always packed on the road.
Yeah,
on the main street.
Always, and it's poor city planning. So, and that's why I say I think if it's thoughtful and being mindful of the expanding population, then it's going to be okay. But what do we do other than try to be a voice in our community for that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing we all should be doing is being more advocates for proper infrastructure. Like everybody's pushing for electric vehicles, but nobody has the infrastructure built to have everybody, like the power grid is not set up for everybody to be charging their cars from their houses. So that's a problem that needs to be addressed. And just being a voice for reason in like the way people are towards construction in general, because wherever there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of construction, and especially road construction. And who likes road construction? Nobody. Not a single person. It's super inconvenient in, the 5 minutes it takes out of somebody's day. But that problem right there is a lot of reason why people look down on or don't have a high opinion of trade stuff, because like they get so upset about something that's necessary, and like the whole, like everybody is always pissed about road construction, including me, but it's something that needs to happen. It's like we all need it. If it doesn't ever happen, then the problem's only going to be worse over time.
Right, so, and that's what's happened here in Logan is they're so focused on the keeping it small and that sort of thing that they never planned ahead. So and now it's, biting all of us in the ass, but it's a necessary evil, I guess, or if you will. But, I don't know, maybe we could, be more like Japan. That's so mindful of like, I've seen those guys, they do road construction. They build like overpasses over everything so it doesn't interfere with anybody, or like, stuff like that. I don't know. There's a fine balance between that. So
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, but also people in Japan are very much in a different mindset. Everybody is moving to a big city. They're moving into these big buildings that go up and very crammed together. There's a lot of communities in Japan, little rural communities that are freaking abandoned there. Like, if you freaking figured out how to speak Japanese, and you could probably go over there and like buy a house and renovate it in a rural community, because it'll just be abandoned. Like, they have an opposite issue. They have an abundance of housing. It seems like that it's just open. It's just there. So, but that's because everybody's wanting the efficiency of being in a bigger place, I guess, and everything being close within walking distance, and don't have to have cars, and they're all about the train system, and we aren't anywhere near that sort of infrastructure that they have. It's pretty crazy.
I will forever wish that we had a train system here.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder what people think that travel here, because I think other places, like in Europe and Asia, everything's a lot more close together, and they do a lot more public transit type stuff. Like, I think people probably assume that you can come here and visit and get around and see things, but like when you see those people on the tour buses stopping at gas stations with full of Asian people, because there's like one gas station up in up towards
that's the
towards Lava Hot
J.
Springs. Yeah. Something that has freaking, they always have people there. But it's because like you can't get anywhere here. If you come here to visit, there's no way you can see just in Utah anywhere near the amount that you could see if you went to somewhere there, because you have to rent a car and figure out how to drive and get around, and it takes so long to get to different places. It's like, we're an interesting place. If people haven't like gone on vacation somewhere in a different country to just see how they operate, that's a crazy thing to do, because everybody here has so much room for everything, and somehow everything is super congested and like backed up all the time. I don't know.
Not like my buddy Tony that we met in China. He wanted to come out for one of our friends' weddings, and it was like, oh, I want to go see Justice in Florida and then come see you guys. How do I do that? And I was like, you don't? I was like, buddy, you've got to a 6 hour flight between you and getting from Florida to us. Whereas like when I went to China and saw him, it was Shanghai to Beijing was a 300-mile-an-hour train.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. The train system, I think, was my favorite thing about being in Japan. So you could
Yes.
get wherever you wanted to go on a train. Um, just scan your little
Yeah.
pass and yeah, go wherever. We went all over the place.
That's
We went
yes.
from one end of the country to the other, just traveling by trains. Pretty
Yes.
nuts.
That's what we did when we went to Europe when I was younger. It was like, 'cause the train system goes all through Europe, like country to country. So it's like, oh, cool. You want to go get on a bullet train and go that way? It's super easy and it's convenient. And I'm like, why did we miss that memo here? Because it would have made life so much easier.
But it's also crazy to think about because each state here is like a country, size of a country from other places. Like all of the countries in Europe are all like a state size. And
Yes.
it's crazy. It's crazy that because we grow up here and that's all we know. But everything is so much closer together and built out over there. And I don't know, they've
Yes.
figured out how to pack people into small spaces, and I don't think we have.
Yeah.
But I
for
don't
sure.
think we want to either. I don't think Americans want
No,
that.
we need our wide open spaces and our cowboy hats.
Hey, apparently there's a big country music presence in parts of Asia and Japan and stuff, which is pretty funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Dude, I was going through the Japanese airport I think I was in the Tokyo one or the one that's close to Tokyo. Anyways, they had like these big old snake skin cowboy boots with like the snake heads on the toe of the boot on display in there. And I was like, what the heck? I want to say it had like a price tag on it or something. And I was like, what is this? And then they were playing country music in one of the little restaurants in the airport. It's like, what the hell?
That's awesome.
It was the craziest thing ever. But yeah, I don't even know what you can do about that. This battle that we're talking about between staying small and then having construction come in. Like, we almost just need to be really big advocates for forward planning and thinking on what could possibly, on like the future of our cities, because the infrastructure. I mean, Logan really is a prime example of just not having the infrastructure even close to built for the amount of people that are there. And I think other places in Utah have done a little better job, but also not. Like if you know the Ogden Valley, they're trying to make it into the next Park City, and there's no way to support the amount of people there either. So there's not even very much room up there. It's always freaking packed every time you go to Pine View, and I don't know.
Yeah, like Brock's video, people trying to get up to the mountain was ridiculous. It's like I can't imagine.
No thanks.
Yeah,
It's crappy.
It's crazy. Yeah, I guess that's all you can do is try to be an advocate and like be a voice in your community of like, hey, if we're gonna do it, like, because we have a shortage of however many hundreds of thousands of homes, but if we don't do anything to support the people that are going to live in those homes, then what's the point of solving that shortage? So that's just, we got to be advocates and be a voice in the community of planning for that rather than just trying to pack it in and using the same infrastructure.
Yeah. They're trying to, right now on the freeway through Ogden and Roy, trying to like fix the freeway and even build more infrastructure, and I think add an exit or something, because that whole place sucks by the Air Force Base. I feel like they're even behind on that too, and it feels like it takes forever. But like they're trying to have all these homes go in, and they're just going farther and farther out west where we are. So they added that new highway in to try to combat that, but I feel like that highway was late, and they're supposed to continue building it to come all the way up to almost where I'm at. All from basically Antelope Island down, all the way out west up here. And I feel like that should be almost done by now if we're trying to have all these people in. Like, I don't know. I feel like there hasn't been too much forward planning, but
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the issue is, yeah. But what do we do about, like, it's,
Yep,
yeah,
be
it's
a
just,
voice in your
that's,
community.
yeah, it's about all you can do, I guess.
Yeah, it is a hard deal. Here's an interesting fact though. I learned the other day that the traffic light was invented in Utah.
Really?
That's weird. Yeah.
That is weird. I didn't know that.
The traffic light, yes. So something that's
Look at us.
adopted throughout the world. And now that I say that, I need to confirm, but I saw it on Instagram, so it must be true. So, and also,
You came in so confident with that fact.
Yep. Hey, I saw it on Instagram, so they were confident about it. But supposedly, it was invented here. And, you'd think for some revolutionary, inventions that have come out of Utah that we would be more, mindful of this type of stuff. But whatever.
Yeah, we got traffic lights and the first KFC. We really should have been on the ball.
Yeah, we should have been on the ball. And the grid system. Hey, that's a city planning ingenious invention right there. So, well,
I do not know how anybody else gets around any city.
Yeah, so we had an employee that was working for us that moved here from, I want to say Oregon. I think he moved here from Oregon, and he was just like he worked for us only for a couple months or something. Just I think he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do or something. I don't know. And he was like, "Man, I don't know how you guys get around here. Like, it's so confusing." And I was like, "What? How?
You just count.
It's literally, you just count. That's it. It's literally a grid, like almost everywhere you go." And then there's random places that have little curvy roads and stuff. But for the 90% of the majority, it's a grid system. I'm like, "How did you get around in Oregon?" And he's like, "Well, you just memorize the street names and stuff." And I was like, "Well, how is that easier? How is that easier?"
Yeah.
I don't even get it.
Yeah, it's like, how do I know where Eisenhower Road is? Like, how do I, like this? It's like,
right
I know where Thousand
Franklin
North
Road.
is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Logan's crazy too, because it's like, seriously, I think Logan and Salt Lake are even a better grid system than even in Ogden. But and especially because I feel like every road goes every direction, like the whole way through Logan almost. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just about.
Yeah. There's only a couple like weird diagonal roads.
Yeah, right along where the river is, kind of, and stuff. So, well, I think we talked about all we could on that one. I don't know what we can do.
I appreciate you. I appreciate Z though, because he's always giving us questions.
Oh yeah, dude. He gets his questions answered, and he provides a lot of them. So that's good. It's good to appreciate him a lot.
Keeping this podcast alive.
Yeah. We need to do. Well, I need to do a better job of trying to collect them, I think. I did have a bunch of people join our channel after we shared it last time, like 10 people almost. But nobody asked questions in there after that. And I was like, well, what did you join for? So that's what they joined in response to, was the question thing. So anyways, we will probably, I don't know, be dropping, the channel a little bit more. I don't know, something like that. Channel, or maybe randomly taking story questions or something. So
yeah, I'll be better about it as well. Maybe we'll try to give the listener more chances to ask questions.
Yeah. Everybody listening, join the channel and ask questions if you have them. I know everybody has them. I get questions all the time in DMs, and I know you do, and in comments, but never when you ask for them. They're always just random, and they get lost. So this is a place where we can have them put, in the channel.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, cool.
Awesome. I appreciate you, Jesse, coming on as always, and we're all looking forward to seeing your side job get completed.
Yeah, thanks, dude. I'll keep trying to update that as I can with updates and the side quests and things like that. I appreciate that. Appreciate you, dude. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And, everything else.